Hello and welcome. It's Crypto Day. Time for a longer video. Sunday, the 20th day of May 2018. Welcome, like always, everything within your own risk and own reward. Okay, we're going to start off with the core coin, which was displayed or presented in the 4-minute morning. I don't know what this next move is going to be, and I don't really care. I was, again, happy to see that it came up to this point. This was right where I pretty much sold last, and had another move a little higher, had a correctionary move, and now it's right smack down in the middle within the correction. But for me, if it goes down well enough into the 40s, I'm going to buy back. If it breaks well above this previous resistance, 75, because that's, I think Fibonacci was 80, so 70, then, well, it depends on the move. Meaning, I might just wait for this to go up to over 80 before I sell again. Not likely I do that, especially with markets being very lowly volatile. Yesterday's 4-minute morning was about such. And on average, playing about well over 60 alternate coins, and look, trading every single one of them for gains and losses based on last trade, I make lots of trades per day. Well, lots as in usually well over 30 per day. But I'm going to show you my last 20 trades, and they span a long period of time for me. And the dates start at the bottom right, May the 18th at 9:40 a.m. Eastern Time. As of the recording of this video, that is 48 hours ago, plus an additional 32 minutes. It is 12 a.m. Eastern Time on May the 20th. Bought some NXT. Then later that morning at 10:18, I bought some QTUM. Buying some library credits a little over an hour later. And then doing some more trades at about 3:48 p.m. Eastern Time, selling some Komodo, and then buying some AMP. A differential of time in 6 seconds. Am I that fast of a trader? No. But oftentimes, when I'm looking to buy or sell, I'll sometimes try to get better prices. We'll talk about that very soon, as I'll show an example with the Dash and the United States dollar order book. So that was a case where the first thing I attended to at that time was AMP. And maybe even Power for that matter. But I put a buy order in. There's a spot where I got 27.17. It might have cost me, like, say, 27.40 or 27.50 to buy now. I'm like, you know what? Let's get a better price. And I did. So maybe I put this order in at, say, 15.45 originally. I could find out, but for what it's worth, I took the other time frame in because of the and you know what, because I got the availability to do it, let's take a look at this with the time of the order as well. And the font size comes in smaller as I do it at this time, but with the AMP, I would have placed this order in at okay, never mind. I did take the buy price at 15.48.51, so that was the available one. But Komodo was the one that I put in first. I put the order in at 15.46 to sell at the 38.3 handle. Maybe I didn't want to sell at 380 or 379 or whatever was available on the bid. So I would have put it in there, and I would have put it in so it should go relatively soon if it goes, and of course it did. Stuff like NXT, this is one that I put in at 8:11 in the morning, and it took over an hour to come in because there was no way I was wanting to pay the price available, or I felt the 1916 was just so likely that I just had to put the order in that way. QTUM, same deal, 8 o'clock order in. It executes at 10 o'clock. Library credits, 8 o'clock order in, executes at 11 o'clock. Power Ledger, 19, you can see this is an example, 1940 and 17 seconds, and it executes 2 minutes later. So that was a spot where I'd probably see the bid-ask ratio somewhere around 5,000 and maybe 5,020 whatever, and then say 5,070. I'm like, that's a 1% move. I'm not going to buy at 50.70. I'm going to try to get in cheaper. Civic, put an order in at 758. Well, we'll say 759, and it takes about 6 minutes to execute it. GNT, same thing. Now, Poly, I took the order that was given to me. I was satisfied with that price when both of those times are the exact same. But for the most part, I'm always trying to get the best price that I can. But even as I move further within it, we can just see as we go on that May 19th was yesterday. So when I woke up to see only 2 trades and then have just a few in the afternoon, this morning it was the same thing. I wake up and there really wasn't much to trade. Core was a big one. I took the price at 504, sold some Tron at 885, and I sold some Cloak at 132. Komodo, it's an interesting one. If you look at these numbers, 383 I sell. Then I sell again at 394. That's a difference of only 12 points, or about 4%. Then 394 to 395 goes up to 407. So a difference of 13 basis points again. Because Komodo is amongst a top tier group for me, second, basically it's the second highest to Litecoin. I'm able to trade on lower percentage moves for such, where codes like Cloak and Core and Pay and Factum and a Gigabyte and Crown and NXT, Qtum, Library Credits, AMP, Power Ledger, Civic, GNT, and Poly are all single unit lowest minimum plays. I basically need at least a 10% move from my last trade to make another one. So for something like Cloak, I buy it at 132. Okay, if this goes well in the 140s, I'll sell. If this goes, say, below or close to, say, 120, then I'll look to buy. But I now want to talk about the actual order book, because this is an example where if I'm looking to buy or sell at this time, I don't want market price. I don't want to sell at 390. I don't want to buy at 394. So if I'm looking to be a buyer, then there's 2 options I'm going to have. Number 1, get the immediate buy. I can try to grind higher. But the problem with, say, moving this number up, if you look at here, you have 457, 458, 459. This story should be telling you everyone's outbidding each other. So we already got 3 participants in the bidding war to buy. And if you look at the size of the amounts, depending on where you are, these are decent sized plays. So if you are a big enough player, if you're so big, then yeah, this is a 10,000 here, 5,000 there. You don't move the market much with a year's salary, put it that way. A standard year's salary, $50,000, we'll say. But anyway, the bidding war is in place. So if you go in and put 60 in, I usually, or like, yeah, if one like 459 to 460, you're probably going to go to 461 very instantly. Oftentimes I'll even just try to match and just say, you know what, I'll just work with whoever's in here. I'll just put my bid at 459. I'll take the lower seniority on that bid, because if, say, I'm looking to sell just 0.2 dash, oh, this number will go from 14 to 0.14.28. So if someone's just going to take it all, I'll just take it at that point. Sometimes I'll try to put a statement in here, but this doesn't work the greatest either, but it does get you the cheaper price regardless. And that's put a price in at, like, say, $3.90 and 50 cents. But then people just might quickly bid over you again. And then if you look at what the fair price is, that's the biggest one at this point. Because the fair price that's what the price is going for on the ultimate average amongst everywhere, because it's traded on many different spots. If the fair price was $3.90, then at this stage, you might even want to try to consider moving into maybe the 388, because one spot where I might put a buy order in is 388 and 30 cents, just above this line. But maybe the fair price is something like, say, $392.85. I might go on here and say, you know, I'm just going to put 391 in. Put a statement, one full dollar higher. Because what I've also noticed a few times, it's almost as if people have automatic scripts. Meaning, if they have a script, I want to buy so much dash if an order is out there, but I don't want to spend so much. Meaning, if you put 391, that might suffice someone's script where they'll automatically sell to you. I've seen many examples where I'm like, how did someone just take my bid order so fast? And literally there's no new orders in. It almost seems like it's a script again there too. So I just like to look at the different amounts that are available. So now if you're looking to sell in this example, especially if the fair price is around, say, 393, do you really want to sell at 390? And then you have the prices available. You have a pretty decent amount right at the top here. So if you're looking to match somebody, I mean, it still could work. It's a big order and someone wants to take the big order, they're probably going to. And this thing has so many trades a day as it is anyway, that it's not the biggest of deal just to match somebody at that point. Again, you could put maybe something like 394 and a quarter in, 394 even, especially if, say, fair price is, say, 391, 392. It's a lot easier to just put a number like 393 in, have a good chance of getting it when you realize that 390 is still close to a 1% differential as far as the prices are concerned. Okay, so we've started this off talking about just bids and asks and stuff like that, which I think is important information. We're 12 minutes in, so let's just finish the last half of this video looking at charts and technical analysis. And I think Bitcoin will do the trick for the open within the charts to look at, and let's bring it up. So we got the 15-minute time frame, and this thing hasn't really been breaking down. It's got a very bearish setup that has been in place for several days now, as we've had this price in here come down, make this move to the 18, and show weakness as it continues further, barely breaks support. If this is the bottom, then I would classify this as a failed breakdown. And generally speaking, you could oftentimes have a decent rally that would probably break above the 18 average of highs, at least, as a minimum for where that would go. We do have this declining 18 average still, and any resistance that we have, that we face within here, can be just such. And it's been now resisting the 18 lows for 2 days. If it sparks any rallies, I'd be seeing the 18 average come in around 8,700 right now for today's session. And it's declining, so as we move into Monday, Tuesday, you'd be looking at that number maybe going down closer to 8,600. But it'd be an area you'd be looking for as a point for resistance, because it's either got to do something to revert the trend, and if it just continues not going down, but really doesn't go up much, then that's just only going to make this 18 go flat, thus become more neutral. Thus, a bearish setup doesn't become quite as strong with some warning signs along the way. As I'm always going to be looking for a bullish setup for some sort of reversal, and it's got a long ways to go for such that it wouldn't surprise me either way if it has any type of move like this and then heads over, or even does it without even going further, now just has that point in play. But if, say, instead of here it rolls, instead of rolling over here, if it just bottoms and does something like that, then the 18 average would, of course, it would be like this. It would start to flatten out, and then you'd want to see something like that, where the 18 would then start to have a reversal over, and then of course if you're looking to play on a breakout, that would be like one of the general spots. But I also want to talk about Litecoin as well within this against the US dollar, so let's bring that one up as well. And when looking at it, it's pretty much the same chart. So let's shorten this time frame out a little bit, say the 3-hour chart. And this is the pattern in which I've been looking at. I'm going to draw a horizontal ray for a straight line. So that's the support level that it had originally managed to go down to for its first entry point here on May the 12th, having its rally. It came back there again. Well, since this point on the 3-hour, it has managed to make this resistance barely above the 18. And now it's always important for such to hold, because when it made it to the 18 average of highs here, what did it do? Came to the low, back to the high, crashing through the low, major leg lower to that point. So this time, it comes back close to the low, sort of like this. Then it this time pierces above the high, matching the previous one. Last time it had a lower high matching the 18 of highs again. This time when it came down here, it didn't find support. This time when it did find support, and it held and stayed above that level. And I'd like to say that there, because when I say I want a market to hold and stay above a specific level, this is exactly what I mean. And if you use the 18 average as that level, well, it managed to go below it, because the 18 on the period that broke below it was at like 133.60. In fact, it was 133.56. But the price went as low as 132.5. It went below it. But it obviously didn't stay below that point. So therefore, when it came down to the 18, it found support, where this time it didn't. See, when you're looking at the markets, it could have found support here and then had a green candle higher next. Or instead of going all the way down here and staying there, it could have went down there and shot back up within that period and have a period that looks like this with a line below it. But since then, another market move up to this period in here, and it is now consolidated within such, staying amongst this level. It has established a big level of resistance. Now, the only descending triangle that I can see on here has already been broken. It would be something like that. It's not the greatest of one because it didn't hit too many peaks, but regardless of how I draw it in there, the only line I can use from this point on would be definitely one that wouldn't be straight. And I'm going to show you the line that I will use. It would be just going from area to area. So connecting all the points like this. And of course, this line has basically become that of flat. So now to me, I see a situation which looks likely that it's got a good probability of breaking out from here and filling some of this empty space over that of course, breaking down below the 18 average of lows. And I still don't think there's a great chance of it even testing such relatively soon, at least at this price point. So then, what I like to do in situations like this is, where do we have the potential to go? The general area I'd be looking at is a 61.8% retracement from this high and this low. The low comes in at 128.89. And the high, she is in at 153.12, but I don't know if it's a male or female or neither. I'll say neither. 153.12. So that gives me key levels in at 137.66, and then of course the 61.8 number that I'm looking at would be a pierce above $143.37 as a price projected target on the break. But 137.66, we take a look at this on a 15-minute time frame. Well, it's obviously been big resistance at this point. It's that level. So with the 143 right here at the 144 mark, I was kind of hoping I had my brush there just so I could say a little bit above this line is where I think there's a decent chance the market can move up to. Let's switch this up against Bitcoin, and this is got extreme low volatility for several days. It is hugging the 18 average of lows. It is really trading with Bitcoin big time at this point. Yesterday's session, a high of 166, a low of 162.55. That's a differential in volatility of about 3.5. That's barely over 2%. And today's session is pretty much a little less than that. And it's well over the halfway point now. I mean, overall, it's just doing this whole sideways thing. And when it's ready to go, it's ready to go. And Litecoin has done that before. When we look back, before this rally begun in here, look at the size of the volatile moves during the downtrend before it ultimately got going. And then you have days where, in this case, you go from 004 to 008. That's like a 2x. I was going to say a 100x, but 100% is what the answer. But it doubled in like one day. But all the low volatile moves. So back in here, say this little tiny green candle, the high was 39.26, the low was 38.40, a differential of about 86 cents. That's barely over 2%. So it could continue doing a whole bunch of low volatile moves for a while. It might be until as early as tomorrow it all gets going. I doubt it though. And it could be a week. It could be a month. It could be like, oh, we're say June 30th, July 4th, July 20th. Litecoin is starting to move again. It might be September. It might be Christmas. And heck, it could even be a year of just boring volatility. And generally speaking, the entire market has been very low volatile. As I was talking on earlier in the video, I haven't done too many trades. But in this example here, it has a decent move, a little bit of correction, and then just does nothing for a while. And that's been the case here for quite some time, chopping above and below this 169 handle. All right then, so I'm going to end it at that. Thank you for tuning in to today's video, and I hope this was helpful, informative, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.